Hello and welcome. You're tuned to The Leg Up, your weekly thoroughbred preview podcast, and pleased to be joined by Stephen Hunt. Calm before the storm, Steve, in some respects, as we look towards a Melbourne Cup. It's still a big weekend racing.
It's still a big weekend domestically, but on the back of what was, you could say, a weekend full of drama. In particular across the Tasman when it came to the Cox Plate. Locally, it was moving day or weekend in terms of the 3-year-olds, 1,000, 2,000 guineas. We saw Imperatriz stand up over 1,400. She'll make her way down to contest the 1,000 guineas, where she's now a $3.50 current fave.
Good. There was, I mean, even Jamie Richards suggested there was a little bit of doubt around what she might do up over 1,400.
For sure. And I think that was on pedigree alone, but she missed the start. She did a few things wrong in the first furlong, but managed to finish over the top of them late. So different ball game, 14 to 16 on a big roomy Riccarton track, but we'll talk about her chances this time next week. And we also had Nevere, the stablemate, who really put his case forward in terms of the horse to beat when it came to the 2,000 guineas. He's now a $3.20 favourite. He was still double figures this time last week. So Nevere, the big mover and shaker when it came to the 2,000 guineas. But yeah, a day that there was a lot of ramifications on the back of the 3 feature races in terms of the 3-year-old events.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning to you, Paul Mawari, man barely standing. How are you this morning? And looking forward to the weekend, no doubt.
Yeah, huge weekend of racing, both this side and in particular the other side of the Tasman. Can't wait. It's Derby Day, and there's a couple of live Kiwi chances that I'm sure BP will touch on later on in the show. But yeah, this is the next couple of weeks. Just if you like racing, then you won't be getting much sleep. It's fantastic. I'm pumped, fizzing.
I love that attitude. You caught up with one of our esteemed risk analysts last night. How is he, Paul? He's all right?
Yeah, big filly. Yeah, no, I haven't seen him in months. Had a couple of quiet ones. He was very, very hopeful of making it down to Cup and Show Week. So we're hoping that the cases they've got down there are all under control, and that big filly can once again make his journey down south for Cup Week. He's very, very keen.
He doesn't like to miss it. Yeah. Well, good morning to Brendan Popple as well. Morning, BP. Look, Steve was talking about ramifications for a 2,000 guineas or a 1,000 guineas. Gee, what about the story around Pareanui Bay during the week? That was a little bit of a unfortunate, maybe. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, it was. Yeah, it really was. And for other horses too, wasn't it? I mean, you know, Dubai Diva, for instance, who ran so well in the Soliloquy Stakes. So, yeah, look, it's fine print, and it's something that I'm sure everyone's aware of now, and trainers that, you know, we have late nominations for other races, and there was the fine print there, and it was there black and white too, I think, is the other thing we need to say, is that it was there. But it just wasn't identified, unfortunately, and I know that it's going to be rectified by the sounds of it. And yeah, Pareanui Bay's not going to be there. Look, all these things, you can have a silver lining. It could be a good thing for him in terms of looking ahead, because I know that he's a horse that Tony wants to get to races like, you know, in the Sydney Autumn, and can target him for a Levin Classic. Yes, I'm sure he would have been going to the 2,000 guineas for sure. The other flip side of that is that you could have nominated beforehand, could have nominated after the win at Te Rapa. So there's so many different ways you can take this story, isn't there? But he isn't going to be there, unfortunately, but he was a very good winner in the James and Addie Sart Memorial. Yeah, it was a terrific weekend, wasn't it? With what we saw, with how Nevere beat Field of Gold, with what Imperatriz did, and the other fillies in that race, that's what we wanted. And the picture becomes all of a sudden quite clear around, you know, maybe the boys, with how Nevere won that race. And will Opie Bosson be riding Nevere? He's come back riding on Monday out of Te Rapa, and you know, possibly has a plum Group 1 ride coming up next week in the 2,000 guineas with Nevere. So yeah, so much around it on what was a great weekend. And of course, the other thing that we saw on the weekend is that Hawke's Bay, they were able to put the log away once again and find themselves with a nice little summer log.
It didn't take him long, did it? Oh, jeepers. Steve, you got a Pareanui Bay take? I mean, it was a bit of a talk during the week. Is it unfortunate? I mean, would have been nice to see him down there, no doubt.
Yeah, it would. I think with the pressure and the warning that the race has at this stage in terms of keeping its Group 1 status, that might be a concern around Pareanui Bay, because what he does, or what he did potentially in that race, but post that race would have helped the status of the 2,000 guineas. But Look, I think BP nailed it. It was in black and white. I think the leading stables, which have been well found in terms of missing the late nom date, I think it was just an oversight from them. And they'll be happy to put their hands up on this occasion. It still doesn't change the fact that it is in the wrong position, the late noms, 2 or 3 days out from 3 key lead-up races towards the 1,000, 2,000 guineas. And I'm sure Tim Mills and the team will rectify that this time next year. But it does make it confusing. I know it has been black and white, but the difficulty around nominations and late nominations, these dates are very up and down in terms of the clubs making the decisions to when they are for their feature races. So there's no consistency, which makes it tricky. We know when we're setting our all-in betting and when late noms happen, when they occur, is it 2-3 weeks out from a feature event, or is it 7 days, or possibly the week leading in to the feature race? It does change. It does make it difficult for connections and stables. So I'm not trying to defend the leading stables that have missed their opportunity this time around. But I think if we get some consistency around the nominations and late noms throughout the clubs, and that's where the NZTR step in and try and just make a blanket rule. It'll make everybody make their job a lot easier going forward.
Yeah, okay. Very good.
Yeah, because what I would say to that, excuse me, is that every other race, you know, look, let's say Tarzino, for instance, you know, well, Spring Tide nominated on the Tuesday, and of course, you know, and did that for the middle day as well. So that's just second nature to know that you can do that. You can late nominate for your horse on the Tuesday for those feature races on the Saturday, and it's just what's regularly known, and that's what you can do. So yes, it's an oversight on their part by not maybe just checking the rules in front of them, but it's also what everyone does, is that, you know, that's just known, isn't it? So it's just messy. It's just a little bit messy. Just needs to be tidied up. But look, we've seen horses late nominated a number of times, and that's how it's always been. So just need to tidy that up, and we'll be all back on an even keel again.
And there's so many different angles, right?
There's a little bit tricky. This is your
everybody's punted into a market, a futures market, and you get one or two horses leading into the race, and you go, well, hold on a minute, I backed that horse in that market thinking they were the opposition. So there's so many different angles. Where is that sweet spot? I don't think it's the Tuesday leading into the race where you see nominations and acceptances on the Wednesday, but it's got to be within 2 weeks, late nominations, because that's where a lot of the horses have had their last run leading into that grand final. I
think too late nom, the cost should be not prohibitive, but allowing for the customer to bet into a market where if there is going to be a late nom, they've really got to sort of
they've got to pay the
penalty.
There's got to be an incentive to early nom right at the start.
Yes, that's all I'm worried about. The customers,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, okay. No, interesting. BP, back to you, mate. Maiden of the week time. What have you spied for us?
Well, there was a few to choose from, wasn't there? There was a few to choose from over the last 7 days. I'll go to Monday's race meeting, Labor Day Monday, and I really did like this colt winning in Zaitaku, who was able to just produce a victory where he has got something to look forward to, I think, for the summer. All reports are that Zaitaku won't be going to the 2,000 guineas. Spoke to Jamie Richards around that, and they just felt as though maybe he's a horse that they can look towards those summer races at sort of through Ellerslie and what have you. So he's a horse, I think, that's got a lot in front of him. Of course, he bounced out of the right races leading into his maiden victory. You know, you go through the Magic Show race that he was beaten in when was roaring home, and of course his effort last time to the races too. So I think there's a lot to like about him as a horse going forward, and a very nice 3-year-old colt by Savabeel. But yeah, as I said, there was a few you could have chosen throughout the week, but that was the one I wanted to identify.
Zaitaku, Steve, was good, wasn't it? Savabeel.
Brendan mentioned this a couple months ago, or when we restarted the podcast, is identifying maiden races that happen year in, year out at Taupo. Early in the season, you get these leading staples bringing young horses. They may have had 1 or 2 starts as juveniles, or they're making their debut as a 3-year-old. But that meeting on the 6th of October at Taupo, there was 3 maiden races. The We Will Rock maiden race, which rated 7 lengths above par in my database. Second was Sassy Merlot, sub-winner. Third was La Bella Beals, sub-winner. Fourth was Safiro Bell, who's come out yesterday and been a sub-winner. Another maiden, the Ballon Rouge maiden. She's gone to be third in Soliloquy after winning that maiden at Taupo. Second was La Creek, who came out and won yesterday. Fourth was Chicana, who came out and won by 5 or 6 lengths last week. And then the Dark Destroyer, you got Dubai Diva, who's been a sub place getter in the soliloquy. Third was White Noise, and fourth was Taku, which BP just mentioned in terms of his maiden of the week. So there was 3 maiden races. You just got to identify the maiden races that run strong figures. Look for that sweet spot. For example, if We Will Rock, that maiden win rated 7 lengths above, you look for all those horses that finished within that 7-length bracket.
Yeah,
they'll go on to perform well, and there can be a bit of a money spin there. So, yeah, just identifying those maiden races, looking for those horses that can go through the grades, maybe not stop when they've won a maiden race. They can continue through the grades, whether it's 65 or black print against their own age. But yeah, it's Taupo just keeps delivering year in, year out.
Okay, would have been, the information would have been good 3 weeks ago, Paul.
I'd take any sort of information I can get from, I don't know. Leave me out of it.
You would add some on Chicana, though, wearing those colours.
Yeah, $1 or 2.
Okay,
still a way to make up, though.
It's still behind, you reckon? Yeah,
no, I'm not being biased, but if you look in the last 7 days, the one that really stands out of my database in terms of overall race ratings is the maiden mile at Te Rapa on Monday, 5 shillings. Won that event. Second was Halston. They are the 2 horses that sit above the 4.9 lengths in terms of margins. So those 2 are worth following going forward. They ran an over, I think it was an over a second faster in the rating 65 on the same day, over 1600. I know they were running fairly quick times at Te Rapa on the weekend off the front or on Monday, but that's one maiden just in the last 7 days that went through the roof in terms of ratings.
Okay, that's what we need. Okay, very good, boys. Well, we better push on. Mata Tauranga, we're going to start it. Oh, Mata. What am I talking about? Awapuni and Tauranga. We're going to start at Tauranga. Steve, race number 3 on the card. The contributor standing at Mapley Stud. Hello, Sims, over the 1,200 metres.
Yeah, firstly, there's a couple of key scratchings. FAMILIA and Rosenpower have come out since we opened this market. So I'll just go on the current prices. Shoshone 220 heads the market, well played. Romantic Lady 550. New York Jazz 6.5. Short Fuse Angelica, the stablemate, 750 each of 2. Manrico $8. Raposa Rapida at 9. So quite a compressed market. Every runner in single figures. There's a nice little lead around Shoshone on the present track conditions, which stand at a heavy 11, 220 Shoshone.
Yeah, I was going to get to BP about those. It's a little bit wet up your way. Pops, Tauranga 11. Won't worry the favourite here, though.
It won't. It really won't. And look, this is a horse that can get through dead to heavy, but she really excels from slow to heavy, doesn't she? Shoshone. I think she's a terrific bet. I mean, she's 220 at the moment. There's no reason why she won't get any shorter. I just feel as though she is going to appreciate the conditions the best out of the runners in this race. She's well placed with Aaron Layton, who is riding very well. I mean, Aaron Layton is a jockey that has made this comeback and has come into the riding ranks with the allowance and is just riding super. She really is. And on big days, you only got to look at her day on Livermore Day with how she was able to ride there with a couple of pearlers also. So she was on this horse 2 starts ago when winning, gets down to 52 kilos, was beaten in the Tavi Mac race last time out to the races. It was Shoshone. There's no Tavi Macs in this race to be worried about. She really does look to be a bet on the program. In terms of track conditions, I find it very hard to see that it's going to be working back anywhere near that slow track condition. Once Tauranga gets wet, it's a hard track. It takes a long time for it to start working back. So I'd certainly be working on that heavy bracket, and that's what she likes.
Yeah, okay, absolutely, Paul. I mean, is there anything down the page we can get interested in, or are you just gravitating back towards his favourite, Shoshone?
We're on the same hymn sheet here. Shoshone. I thought that win 2 starts back was very, very good. Gets back to handicap conditions with a track that will suit. I dare say that 220 won't be around when we're just before race time tomorrow. So if you are keen on Shoshone, I'd jump on now. It looks a very, very good thing.
Yeah,
I thought maybe Romantic Lady just in behind. Maybe if you're going to play, I know BP loves to play the fixed odds exotics every now and then. I thought maybe Shoshone on top, Romantic Lady in for second, and then boxing a few up and behind. May not be the worst way to go, but Shoshone just looks like the very good thing for the day.
Down to 52, Paul. Not with that claim.
Exactly. And as BP said, Aaron's riding fantastically well at the moment. So you get the bonus of a jockey who is riding very, very well and a 3 kilo claim on top. Yeah, I'm trying to look for negatives to point me in another direction, and I can't find any.
I like it. We're getting confident. Look, 220, Steve, down to 52 kilograms. We've had a couple of scratchings, and now we know this track is going to be in that heavy range. You know, potentially, you know, after these, they can leave these favourites potentially a little bit high off the scratchings, and now the track conditions are known. 220.
Yeah, for sure. Now that it's presented a heavy 11, there's every possibility that she could start in the red Shoshone. She's now currently trading at 220. Just the race setup is ideal. Heavy track, 52 kegs, which the boys have already mentioned with that claim. I think a key aspect is Rose in Power has been scratched, and also Familia, because Familia was a go-forward horse. But Rose in Power looked to be the only contester in terms of that leading position. But now she is scratched. I think it really does set up for Shoshone to get that leading position, which she likes to be. And I think go back to her previous start, Wait for Age on a dead track. Those two combos just doesn't suit her. She's back to handicap conditions on a heavy deck. And as I mentioned, the map is ideal with a couple of key scratchings for horses that like to go forward. So I think Erin, with the claim, she'll look to go forward, lead, and have basically an uncontested position. Outside her is a little bit of speaking around Angelica. I know big syndicate involved. They tend to gravitate towards this horse on the working week prior to race day. That money might just slow up / dry up on race day. But if there was a second lead, it is around Angelica. Look, Angelica, she has her best figures on heavy, but in terms of the best lead, it's clearly around the 6.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's a bit of money for both those Richardson and Norvell runners. BP, Angelica, and Short Fuse are seeing a little bit of action. Runners through those two. Why are we seeing that?
Yeah, look, to be honest with you, Short Fuse is a horse that hasn't really got a record of performing on these type of track conditions. You know, his best form's on good to dead track conditions. I find it surprising if there's anything around her. First up over 1,200 metres on a very testing track condition. And she's had, 5 starts on slow to heavy for just the one placing on a slow track. Angelica's got some wet form. Was disappointing behind Bari, though, at the same time, wasn't she? I mean, she got beaten nearly 10 lengths in that race. I think the two Stephen Ralph horses, I mean, they run every week, and it's always very hard to try and line them up, isn't it? Manrico and New York Jazz, but they do climb out of the woodwork from times, don't they? And maybe New York Jazz is that type of horse that could run a race here for the multiples and behind. He's a runner that comes back to the 1,200 metres. He's got some wet track stats. He hasn't raced well here in his 2 starts, but he's got a low draw, and he might take a position just off them. So he's one. I actually find the rest quite hard to work out with where they actually can finish in this race behind Shoshone. All on any given day, they could run a big race. So I'm just happy just to mark out the 6 Shoshone and leave it at that.
I like it. I don't mind that. Don't need to name 4, do we?
Just with Short Fuse, it's her first. She is a 7-year-old mare. Her first start. She's had 1 start in the last 18 months, so very difficult to assess. I know, speaking to connections, that she's got a very short sprint and she's got to be timed beautifully, held up, and bang for the last furlong. Heavy 11 on a first start. That's not an ideal position for the horse. So, I think she'll be fairly soft on the day, Short Fuse, but she's definitely got quality, and I think they'll be looking to pick up some black type as the tracks get dry.
Yeah, okay. No, that's good information to know. Paul, Pops has gone 1 out here. Can you give us something for our multiples, please, in the third of the day?
Shoshone on top. I like Romantic Lady in behind. Manrico and Angelica. There's your top 4.
I like it. Good man. Okay, guys. Race number 7 on the card now. As I flick to it, Steve, how does this market look? As I'm struggling with my computer. Race number 7, Tauranga.
You're headed by Pareanui, who was an impressive open handicap winner last start at Matamata, $4.50. In fact, holds the top line with Frontman. MASETTO at $6. CRYSTALLIZE, well played, 9-7. So there's a genuine move in the middle market. Sweet Clementine, just in a purple patch of form, 9-8. Moroni, reversed, 8-9. Tabata, double figures, 12 with Spring Delight. Tannehill, $13. Battle Time, 18. Roger that at 31 with Crafty Jess. So, look, there's a couple of angles or ways the punters are playing early doors. They're pretty keen on the 2 favourites, but also CRYSTALLIZE, 9-7 has been your firmer.
Yeah, okay. The PRH Transport Trophy, 1,600 BP. now we know we've got a heavy track. What are the angles here in the 7th of the day?
Yeah, I mean, the Marietta Cup form is your first point of call, isn't it, really, when you're looking at Vernon Me, CRYSTALLIZE, Frontman, you know, and also Spring Delight. They've run first, second, third, and fourth in that race. I think that's your first real decent reference, because that was on a heavy surface over 1,600 metres. Vernon Me will hold the 60 kilos once again. And look, he was really good. And of course, he bounced out of that race 2 starts ago out of Hawke's Bay behind Communique and also Big Mike. So the horse seems to be in a good space at the moment. And I think that's form we have to respect. Frontman, he's drawn 12 of 12. I was certainly disappointed in his run at the same time. I mean, he's run honest enough when running into 3rd position, but he was also put in, I thought he was in a spot to be winning in the Marietta Cup. I don't want to be completely dropping him though at the same time. He's still a Group 1 performer, and he can get through these type of track conditions, the slow to heavy bracket. So I don't want to be dropping him. And then you've got a Group 1 placed horse with Opie Bosson in the race in MASETTO. 2 starts ago, placed in the Tarzino, ran in the Livermore, back to 1,600 metres. I know there's no wet form there, but look, he's showing that he could run a huge race on and off track in the Tarzino. And the other horse I'm keen to talk about is Sweet Clementine. Now, Sweet Clementine's won over 2,000 metres and 1,950 metres. If this is a very genuine race over 1,600 metres on a heavy track, well, she's the horse you need to be looking out for late in this race, because she can wind them in. And if she is close enough in a nicely run race over 1,600 metres, I think she's the each way possible play in the race at around that $8 mark.
Yeah, I see a bit of money for at $8, Sweet Clementine, Steve.
Yeah, she's an intriguing runner, back in trip. Look, the Stephanos Classic didn't rate highly, but we know heavy tracks can be a leveler. And dropping back in trip, as BP mentioned, she'll be strong late. But look, personally, I wouldn't have her in the top 2 or 3. She probably needs to improve 2.5 lengths to be competitive. But again, as I mentioned, the heavy track can be a leveler. Yeah,
okay, Paul, how you sort of citing this? There's a few ways you could play it. A lot of horses between that sort of $6 and $13 mark. Yeah,
it's a lot of meat in the sandwich. I guess you could say. I was really impressed by the way that Vernon Me carried that 60 kilos to win the Marietta Cup last time. I don't know about Frontman. I may bypass Frontman this time. I'm very happy with the money that's come for CRYSTALLIZE. I'll definitely have him in the mix somewhere. I'm just seeing Tabitha. No nominated jockey yet. Eh?
Oh, okay. For your old mate, B.
Well, yeah, he better get an MIQ and sort of jockey up for his pony, because hey, I'll give it a chance.
I think it would be a doubtful starter on a heavy 11, wouldn't it, Brendan?
I would have thought so. Yeah, I think they want to try and find some half decent tracks for her. So that's why I'm guessing there's no jockey there, because they might be contemplating scratching. And the thing is too, that there's so many options around. Like if you don't want to flatten your horse on a heavy 11, you know, there's another race around the corner, isn't there? You know, there's so many ways to go. So yes, it's a $60,000 race, but do you risk really putting the rest of the preparation, you know, turning it up on its head if you are running on the heavy 11 and they don't really like it? So that would be my question mark there.
Yeah, okay. You've gone Vernon Me, Paul, ahead of CRYSTALLIZE?
Indeed, yep.
Okay. Anything else we need to put in our combinations?
Yeah, well, Opie Bosson jumping on MASETTO, just it adds another little piece of spice to this race. So I've got to have Opie in there somewhere. He's got bills to pay, so MASETTO's in there as well. And I didn't mind the run of Spring Delight last time out. So I think we can probably see a wee bit of improvement there.
Yeah, that Spring Delight. I backed it at the Bay, Steve. It got out of its ground, didn't it? Was that? I'm thinking of Sweet Anna.
Sweet Anna, who came out.
It came out and won
last
weekend. Wasn't on. Yep.
Just with Vernon Me, there's a perception that he's slightly better left-handed. I've looked at his overall record and the numbers he's produced. That's probably a little bit misleading. You go back his last 2 runs, last preparation, right-handed. One was at Wait for Age, where I just don't think he's quite at in terms of his previous campaigns, Wait for Age level. His other start right-handed was on this course, beaten in the Japan Trophy, where he finished sixth, 2.6 lengths off the leader, or off the winner. So he wasn't too far off them. Yeah, he meets a couple horses worse off, and CRYSTALLIZE 1.5 kegs, and Frontman 2 kegs off. With Frontman, I'm not sure he's a heavy 11 galloper. I thought he was found a little bit wanting on the heavy 10 at Matamata. So again, with that whitish gate, I wouldn't be surprised if connections are thinking about scratching that individual and keeping him for the back end, or the back end of the spring, early part of the summer. And Tanner Hill's the other intriguing runner, go forward horse. I just went through his run at the Bay, which was very good on the eye, but look, he led on that occasion. The first 1,000, they went 16 lengths below par, so it really did set up for himself and horses on speed, and they ran home the last 634.66, 5.8 lengths above par, so it made it almost mission impossible if you weren't within maybe 2 or 3 lengths of the leader at the Bay in that last 600. So he had the right race shape, Tanner Hill. He goes up a couple of grades and strikes a heavy track, so probably a horse I'd like to take a set against on this weekend, but no doubt he's probably got upside more than most in that field. Yeah,
for sure. Okay, BP. Paul's with the Matamata Cup form, Vernon, me, CRYSTALLIZE. Have you sort of gone that way in the end?
Yeah, they're the three I'm hovering around. I don't want to drop Frontman yet, but I was just disappointed in how he had his opportunity to win that race, didn't he? And maybe it is purely down to the track conditions, not being able to handle that heavy track. I mean, we've seen him run so well on an off track in a New Zealand Derby. He's been a winner on a slow surface. I just don't know what to do with him. I really don't know what to do with him. I want to back him, but then I'm sort of thinking, I don't know, there's too many question marks. And then I keep coming back to Vernon, me, and CRYSTALLIZE. So Vernon, me, in front of Frontman and CRYSTALLIZE, who can go forward, and we'll run a really good race again. I mean, 1,600 metres up on speed. Look, he'll just run a super honest race. And I'll lob Sweet Clementine in there, because I just feel as though she is the one that will be getting home best of the rest at the end of this race on what will be a very tough track condition by race number 7. So keep her close for your trifectas and first falls at the back end of your tickets.
Okay, good advice, gentlemen. Let's head down to Awapuni. A great old race. The Courtesy Ford Red Craze Bowl, Steve, race number 6 on the card over the 1,400 metres, headed up by a very smart one.
Yeah, Tavi Mack. He had a little bit of a freshen up and resumed at Rotorua and did the job impressively. He's basically fourth up this preparation overall. 240 into 230, well played, Tavi Mack. In fact, the clear leader when it comes to early door betting. Tavi caught, hold on a minute, I'll just put it in price order. Not of the head at $4.20 in that second elect. Guillada in that third line at $5. Lady Cartel, $10 double figures. Wild Moose, 14. Acceleration, 15 with Rock Island Line. Tavi Court, 17. Shadows Cast, 21. Charlie Horse, 31 out to 41. So you're not too much to speak of outside the favourite here in Tavi Mack, 240, firmed into 2.3.
Yeah, okay. Well, before we get to the BP, I mean, I guess I want to talk about Not of the Head, because he's in 2 races. Is that right?
Yeah, he's in the 74 mile with Jonathan Riddell in the riding with 60 kegs on his back. I think just going on that basis alone, he will start in the lower grade race rather than come up against Tavi Mack. So if you're punting to this market, there is a high possibility that you will get deductions.
Yeah, okay. So it'll be about 18-19% by my rough calculations around Tavi Mack, which probably leaves it around $1.90.
Yeah.
BP, $1.90 Tavi Mack without Not of the Head.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
Still not bad, is it?
Yeah. I mean, it's just hard to tip against him, isn't it? I mean, he's shown that he's back with how he won last time to the races. It's what we were wanting to see from Tavi Mack. He gets a track condition that, I mean, he can excel on anything, can't he? Really, let's be honest. If it poured down, I mean, that's only going to be in his favour. It's a track that's in the dead bracket at the moment, dead 6. So many good things to say that Callum Jones has just got to make sure that he steers him in the right direction, really, with Tavi Mack. So Shadows Cast is probably one of those horses that you could say that on class and on his old past form, he could run a place and help your multiples out. Shadows Cast. I mean, you look at his form line and you'd say no thanks. I mean, there's just a whole lot of donuts there next to his name, but he's better than that. And this is maybe the race where he can find his better form again. Is Shadows Cast, but really it's it's just hard to tip against him. And if he's going to be around that 190 quote, well, he just seems to go into everyone's multis, I feel.
Do we just put that? I mean, we've talked about this Foxbridge run. It's just a bad day. Is that it, Pops? With Tavi Mac?
Yeah.
He bounced straight back at Rotorua.
We all have them, don't we? You know, we all have those.
Yeah.
We all have those days where we don't feel like turning up to work, or you know, like you have a headache and you just don't perform to your best.
Yeah.
Look, I think that's what you got to put it down to, don't you? You just he had his opportunity. He came up along the rail and he didn't hit out, and they've had a little bit of break in between those runs, and he's come back firing with how he won out of Rotorua. So yeah, he's the one.
Yeah, no doubt. Paul, you'll be with him, wouldn't you? You'd take the shorts here, surely.
Crikey, we're building a little Saturday multi here, aren't we? Yeah, Shoshone, Tavi Mac, just a couple of runners in Australia, and we'll be firing. I totally agree. Frodo was back to his best last time out. I know 61 kilos is a lot, but that boy can do it. And I'm glad that BP mentioned Shadows Cast. As you say, the form looks terrible, but we've got a Group 1 winner, won this race 2 years ago. You've got to have him in there somewhere, surely, and I certainly will. But yes, I do like the shorts available on Tavi Mac. Really, really keen. I can't see anyone stopping.
Yeah, okay. We've got plenty of percentage in Guillada, Steve. Second up into this, $5.
Yeah, look, the current track is a dead 6, so that shouldn't impose any difficulties around Guillada. In fact, the majority of the field, I think there's the odd shout today, but in terms of race day, it looks okay. So we're hoping that it stays around that dead 5, dead 6 at Aupuni tomorrow. Look, she's a chance. She was good first up. Her second up form is okay. Can she not turn the tables, but beat Tavi Mac? I'd say no. She's probably a mare that's going to be identified by the stable when chasing black print against mares, and those fillies and mares weight for age races Guillada, as she has in previous campaigns. But just back on Tavi Mac, it has to carry the 61 kegs. Look, it did carry 60 last season at Otaki in an open handicap, and we know the size. It's been well documented. It's been well spooked that the horse is on the small side, but he's carried big weights in the past, 60 kegs. So you go back on its last start at Rotorua, it was 2.6 lengths above par. Suggest he's right on the mark. He's almost back to where he was at his peak last campaign, Tavi Mac. He beat Mascarpone, who finished third, and he's probably, you'd have to say, one of the informed sprinters in the early stages of this season, and Packing Rockstar, who looks to be well up to Group 1 class in terms of our sprint races this season. So he beat a good field, even though it was at Rotorua. And no, he's where I'd say Alan Sharrock wants him to be in terms of what the figures suggested at 2.6 lengths above par.
Yeah, okay. Well, we should probably talk about Not of the Head because it is still in the field and it looks a progressive type.
Oh, I love this horse. I loved his win at the Bay early this preparation. He struck a Harwood, a heavy track, which he just didn't suit. I basically put a pen through that whole meeting in terms of form going forward. He was gone at the top of the straight. The jockey sat up on him and wasn't stretched or pushed out. And it was just a basic total forgive. And then he went up to Rotorua and was a very impressive winner on the eye. Didn't run time, just flat in terms of the par. But look, he's definitely a horse that I'm very keen to go see down in Christchurch in the Coupland's Mile. I think on the minimum, he's a big chance against some of the well-exposed, improved gallopers that will have to carry some weight. But he'd have to be winning the 74 rated race on the undercut if he doesn't take his place here, because he needs his ratings to just go up 4 or 5 pegs to cement his position in the Coupland's Mile.
Okay. Well, gee, he could be a bet then.
Well, I think he's in 74. I think he's around about 270, 260. The boys have framed him up. So it depends where you rate him, whether that's overs or unders. But I think from memory, he's around about 260, 270 for that respective race.
That's another one for the multi. Not of the Head if it gets into the 74, Paul.
Here we go. I'm really liking the look of Saturday now. I really look out the Cambridge Hotel. We are going to take you down.
Give us your numbers, mate.
Are you allowed back in?
Not fair to him.
Tavi
Mac on top. Look, I'm going to throw Shadows Cast in there somewhere. I did like that first up start by Acceleration as well. I've got in there as well, and Guillada.
Yeah, okay. No doubt who Paul's with. BP, you wouldn't be getting away from the favourite here.
No. Probably take a little exacta here, I reckon. Taffy Mac and find the one you like and behind and Shadows Cast. Now, of course, it's $31 at the moment with Nod of the Head in the market. So, but yeah, I might take a little exacta there on a 1-3 combo, and that might be a bet. You could look to find your other runner if you are really keen on Taffy Mac. Find another horse in your market and look to play him in the exacta. So, yeah, Taffy Mac on top in front of Shadows Cast, yeah, Guillada, Taffy Court. They're all good chances. Lady Cartel from an inside draw. They all could all fill the minors.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, there's plenty in that middle market, so it might not be a bad way to go. The way BP suggesting with a fixed exacta. Race 8 on the card, Steve. Rico Feilding Gold Cup, and quite a dominant favourite here.
Yeah. Again, a couple of key scratchings. One of them being Trosser T, who came out, I think, early doors Thursday.
Yeah.
So there are some deductions if you punted early into this market. House of Cartier originally went up 380, but on the back of deductions / scratchings has found herself a $2.20 favourite in front of Sir Nate at $7. Shares that second line with Bonnie Ezra. Marietta Lane double figures 11 with Prince Leo. A Deerfield has to carry the top weight for Chrissy Banbury at $13. Orencia, same price, 13. Hunter Pence, Sky Fighter, $17 each of 2. Penelope Cruz, best of the rest at 21. But again, a nice little lead around the Peter Didham trained galloper and House of Cartier, who bounces out of a Group 1 event at weight for age.
Yeah, part of me wants to sort of go against and say 220's too short here, Pops, but then I'll look down at the form and I see 5th in a liver mole, and maybe 220's all right.
Yeah, and then you also start thinking, well, what other horses do you want to have a bet on away from this runner? What's the ones that you're saying that can beat her? And I see where you're coming from. Look, she's a horse I think will have no problem pushing out in distance. You go back to her 3-year-old preparation. What was it? She ran 4th in the Royal Stakes? Yeah, she ran 4th in a Royal Stakes, House of Cartier, when she was trained up this way with Nigel Tyler. And of course, she went to Australia, and I think she's just a horse that is in a very good space with Peter Didham. Super win, wasn't it, here at Awapuni in the Merrill-Metric Mile, and then came out and ran that great race in the Livermore to finish into 5th position. So makes a lot of sense, doesn't it, this horse, and why the horse is at $2.20. I think other horses in the race, I mean, I'm giving Hunter Pence a little bit of a sneaky chance. I think he is the one that is that little each-way play. If you wanted to chop away from the 220 and find something else to have a bet on, I think he's a horse that could run a big race. He's got a good draw. He's just one of those horses that pops up in these Central Districts Cups races. And Prince Leo certainly impressed with how the horse won on Sunday. I mean, he's a horse that really did gather them in quite nicely. He has a better form on that track condition when it pushes beyond dead 6, whereas all his best records on that slow 7 and above. And then you're starting to look towards horses like Bonnie Ezra and those type of runners. So I keep coming back to House of Cartier. I think that's the main bet in the race. And away from her, looking at Hunter Pence as the each way. You
haven't got Deerfield in your numbers, BP?
Well, Deerfield, I mean, he raced in a 1,200-metre race on Sunday, didn't he? I mean, he races in everything that's going, doesn't he, Deerfield? And let's have a shot at 2,100 metres. Unbelievable. I mean, he's won 11 from 37. He's got an incredible horse, isn't he, Deerfield? Yeah. He just keeps turning up. You wouldn't be surprised if he ran a race.
No, he's game, isn't he? But yeah, the 12 to 2,100 does.
Look, it's not. Yeah, well, it's right. It's something you don't normally see within 7 days, is it? But he's just one of those horses that he can do it. He might run in a sprint race on Melbourne Cup Day as well. You know, like he's very durable and he just keeps on giving.
Yeah, absolutely he does. House of Cartier, Paula's. That's another one for this favourites multi that's actually starting to scare me a little bit now.
Yeah, yep. I've got it on top here. I think Peter Didham's got it right where we need him to be as well. Taken the 220. I did like the look of Marietta Lane, who I thought it wasn't the worst run fresh up on a track that probably didn't suit. Finished last campaign with back-to-back wins, beating Big Mike in the process. So, yeah, I'm very, very keen on Marietta Lane and slotting in there somewhere as well. But, yep, House of Cartier on top. It does look like a favourites day tomorrow.
Oh, my God. No. Stop that chat. Steve, yeah, with 220 with the scratching of Trosser T, that favourites price has been affected by a deduction and it sort of goes in where the deduction allows it to. Is it the right price after the back of that deduction, or is this one going to get shorter as well?
I'd say I'd have a lot more confidence in Tavi Mack firming from his quote V House of Cartier. But I don't really want to knock her. But again, it's around price sensitivity, and 220 a little bit skinny for how I rated her. But again, she was in that clear top 2 in the market when Trossity was in the field. I thought Trossity was a big chance in this race. He'd run strong figures heading into this event. I'm not sure what his plan is coming out of this being scratched. But back on House of Cartier, you go back to the weight for age race, the Livermore Classic. I know it was set up for a back marker to really charge and record strong sectionals. Well, she did that. She recorded the fastest 8.642 splits in the Group 1 at weight for age. They've elected to run her here rather than freshening her up and starting in the Coupland's Mile in a couple of weeks' time, which I think is a decent plan from Peter Didham. And the fire out of the track. Look, it was a good 3 at Hastings on the back end of a program. A dead 6, which we've already touched on. I think that's her sweet spot. Just a little bit of fire out of the track around House of Cartier. She's drawn barrier 1. Sarah McNabb is no better jock in the CD at present. She's got a lot of ticks, House of Cartier. It's just what price you're willing to take. And I am very keen to watch number 9, Prince Leo. I think she's a real cups horse. Or he, should I say, 5-year-old gelding, is a real cups horse in the making. Whether it's this time in or maybe in 12 months' time, we know it has the pedigree to get over ground, being by Hurang or out of Hurang. Might be better suited, as you mentioned, with a bit more fire out of the track in that genuine slow bracket, and better suited by bigger, roomier tracks, the likes of Trentham. But I'll be keeping an eye on its quote. It's currently at around about $12, $13, Prince Leo, and whether it's a firmer in the market, I'm not sure. But yeah, at the moment, it's fairly static, the overall market led by House of Cartier.
Yeah, okay, Paul. Put them in order. You've got House of Cartier, Marietta Lane.
Yep. Bonnie Ezra, and yeah, I'm throwing Penelope Cruz in there as well, just for a little bit of fun.
It's not a bad man, Penelope Cruz, is she? She's putting together a reasonable record. She's outside of the field, Steve.
Yeah, she's been a tad disappointing, I'd have to say, in terms of SPs. She's raced well below betting expectations this time in. She had a little bit of a boom tag that should progress and be very competitive in handicap conditions. So, like, I'm sure Alan Sharrocks, he's working her out, trying to change a few gears possibly with her. Look, her best figures are on a genuine heavy, so where it sits at the moment might be a negative. But yeah, we know she's got some sort of ability, Penelope Cruz, for what she's shown in the last 12 to 18 months.
Okay, BP, Nitmas, you settled on the Feilding Gold Cup?
Yeah, House of Cartier for me. My each way play in the race is going to be Hunter Pence. I think this horse can run a big race. It's $4 a place at the moment. Nice sort of 2 over 3 possibly at the 17s and $4. If you're looking for that little saver, and certainly want to play the Quinella with House of Cartier and Hunter Pence. And then looking around horses like Sir Nate and Prince Leo and Bonnie Ezra. They're the others that I've put into my mixture and behind. So for third, we'll go Bonnie Ezra. And we'll put Prince Leo into the mix. Like Stephen, I think this horse is a really nice stayer going forward and might be one that can run a race for Liam Carey.
No, absolutely. A very interesting. Good win last time, Prince Leo. But House of Cartier does look awfully hard to beat in the Gold Cup this year, boys. It's almost that time of the week where we have to wind it up. Looking forward to Golden Eagle Day on Saturday, BP.
Wow, what a race meeting. I mean, this is rivaling Derby Day. I mean, it sets it up, doesn't it? I mean, Derby Day has all eyes on Flemington. And now you would have to say, a little bit similar to Caulfield Cup Day when we have the Everest, that we now have 2 big booming race meetings. And maybe that's how it is now, is that it is not just all eyes on Flemington. It is actually across Australia on these 2 great meetings. And if it is anything like Caulfield Cup Day and the Everest, man, turnover will be through the roof, won't it, this weekend with these 2 race meetings? Golden Eagle looks a terrific race. I thought I'm Thunderstruck looked very hard to beat. If he brings his Melbourne form there, he's going to be hard to hold out in that race. And look, there's good Kiwi interest out of Flemington, isn't there? I mean, we've got a Derby chance for Tony Pike with James McDonald aboard and Tutakaka. We've got Amaralina, who I think is one of the each-way little plays of the day on Derby Day at 13s and 4s with J Mac aboard. Should appreciate going around Flemington. You've got Sort of State, Karma Lass. So there's great interest for the Kiwis. Make sure you take a Melbourne quaddie, because if you can get it, it will almost pay the mortgage off. It's just one of those great days, great betting days. If you can strike a few multiple first falls and a quaddie, well, you set yourself up for a great a great few Christmas presents maybe for the family. So yeah, I love this day.
Yeah,
We've got
Derby
bonus
Day is
back blitz on
something
this Saturday as well,
Oh,
T-Bone.
no, we haven't. Stop
We
it.
have got the bonus back blitz, as BP said, some sensational racing. So we've gone races 1, 2, 3, and 4 from Tauranga, Awapuni, Rosehill, and Flemington. All bonus back races, 16 races altogether. How about that?
Killing us, you boys. Absolutely killing us. Those Aussies
Get on
struggle
early.
with those Aussies struggle with that two car, don't they? Paul, have you heard them have a crack at that? Two car.
Choo choo.
Choo choo.
Choo choo. Yeah. Yeah, was noted.
Yeah, okay. Well, we have to work on that. What are your plans on Saturday, Paul? Where are you going to be?
I might head down to the Cambridge, have a couple of quiet ones. Yeah, have a wee bit of a go on the day.
Yeah.
What are you boys up to?
Well, I might darken the doorstep at some point, say hello.
Be rude not to.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, gee, best bets before we go. We'll start with you, Steve, if we're here. It's best bet time.
Yeah, I'll go with Tauranga, knowing that we're going to be playing on a genuine heavy. I've looked for that particular runner that's going to handle conditions. I'm going to go to the last Tauranga race 8, the rating 65-2-1, Global Currency. I loved his 3 runs this preparation, 2 starts back, very unlucky at Matamata. Last start, stepping over ground for the very first time, a 4th on a Premier Day at Hastings on a good 3. Now he's had that 1 run over ground. He's back on a heavy track where he's had his best figure. Blinkers go on.
Marshy's on fire.
Yeah, Marshy going well. I think he's if you don't have to be battling. You can have a very good day leading into the last and reinvest on Global Currency. I think he's the best play at Tauranga and potentially up and down the country on Saturday.
Yeah, okay. Global Currency. Paul, where did you settle for a best bet?
I'm going to head to Awapuni, race 6, the Courtesy Ford Bread Craze Bowl, Tabby Mac on top. It's in me multi.
Yeah.
Get some now. Just come on.
Playing with a straight bat this week. You've just had a bit of a reset.
Yeah, and good luck with your runner on Saturday as well, Thad.
Yes. Can't believe they served up at 11.
Heavy track.
Won't appreciate it, I don't think. I expect to see that price drift, though, with any luck. Yeah. Okay, Tabby Mac for Paul. BP, where'd you land, mate, in the end?
Hang on a minute. So Packing Joy won't go on a heavy track. It ran a great race 2 starts ago on a heavy track. What are you talking about?
We're trying to get a price here, BP. You're not helping.
What you didn't see is Thad kicked me in the shin under the desk. Hey, get that price out.
He's a chance. Yeah. What's your best bet, mate?
Beast for the East might be the hard one to beat in that race, but anyway, I like Shoshone. I think Shoshone 220. If we're talking about Tabby Mac moving, I think this horse is going to move too. I really feel as though she's not going to start around that $2.20 mark, and I wouldn't be surprised if she's in the Tommy Sauce as well tomorrow. So I like Shoshone, and I think she's a really good bet. She'll love the heavy track conditions with everything we've spoken about. So yeah, we'll make her the best bet in race 3.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Pops. Thanks for your time today. As always, we'll see you again. Are we going to do a Melbourne Cup show?
What?
BP?
Really?
Yeah. You'll be available, won't you, Paul?
Squeeze it in between.
When are we doing it?
5 other podcasts you do.
Crikey.
Oh,
Let's get someone get a special guest or something. If it's going to be a Melbourne Cup show, we need a special guest.
We'll work on one Monday morning or Monday afternoon. It'll be out. Hopefully the Melbourne Cup podcast, and we'll try and get a couple of special guests along, or at least one anyway, to try and break up this monotony. Thanks, Paul, for your time. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow at some stage.
Yep, I'll get the first one.
Yeah, that'll be a first.
That'll be the last one he gets too.
Thanks, Pops, for your efforts. We'll see you on Monday, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries, guys. Cheers, team.
Thank you, Stephen. Thanks
Jungle Magnay in the Derby.
Okay,
Tarzino. Okay. Loved its run in the Vars. Covered the most ground. Through the line, was in front. Ran about $21.
Oof, that's the sort of price we're after.
There we go.
Okay. Thanks for your efforts, as always.
No worries.
Appreciate them. And we appreciate you joining us on the Leg Up. We will see you in 2 days. We'll see you on Monday. Melbourne Cup Day special on the Leg Up.